Picture this. Somewhere in a military hangar so classified that even Google Earth blurs it out, a plane that hasn't flown in years is being prepped for takeoff. Not just any plane. The E-4B Nightwatch, the flying fortress designed to keep the US government alive after nuclear war, has turned the surface into a parking lot. A plane built with one rule in mind. When everything else fails, this thing keeps flying. No Wi-Fi, no touchscreens, no vulnerabilities to electromagnetic pulses. Just analog switches, reinforced hulls, and enough fuel capacity to stay airborne, while the world below burns itself out. This aircraft doesn't get rolled out for drills. It doesn't get dusted off for publicity stunts. The doomsday plane only moves when someone, somewhere, believes the end might actually be near. So why now? What do they know that we don't? Because while you were scrolling through memes and arguing about coffee prices, the Pentagon quietly pulled this Cold War relic out of storage. Engineers are running diagnostics. Fuel trucks are lining up. Crews are being briefed under NDAs thicker than the plane's blast-resistant walls, and no one's talking about it. You're about to find out why this plane exists, what it's designed to survive, and why its recent activation should make you pay attention. Not panic, not spiral, just pay attention. Stick around. By the end, you'll understand why some people are watching the skies a little more carefully these days. The plane that refuses to die. So let's talk about what this thing actually is. The E-4B Nightwatch isn't just a plane. It's a flying bunker, a mobile Pentagon, a command center with wings that was designed during the height of Cold War paranoia, when the United States looked at the Soviet Union and thought, if they launch, we need to launch back, even if Washington is a crater. Here's the problem they faced. Nuclear war doesn't wait for you to get to a bunker. The moment ICBMs leave their silos, you've got maybe 30 minutes before impact. Maybe less. You can't drive to NORAD. You can't evacuate the president to some mountain fortress in time. So they built the E-4B, 4 of them to be exact, commissioned in the 1970s, modified from Boeing 747s, stripped of every piece of modern convenience, and packed with 1980s-era analog technology that, paradoxically, makes them more survivable than anything built today. Because here's the thing, modern jets are smart. Fly-by-wire systems, digital avionics, computers managing every flap and thruster, beautiful engineering. Also, completely vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses. One nuke detonated in the upper atmosphere creates an EMP wave that fries every chip, every circuit, every GPS receiver within hundreds of miles. Your F-35, bricked, your smartphone, paperweight, your Tesla, expensive lawn ornament, but the E-4B, still flying. This plane was built with 1970s tech on purpose. Analog dials, hardwired controls, shielded wiring. The kind of unglamorous, clunky engineering that doesn't look cool in movies, but absolutely works when the grid is gone and the satellites are offline. It's designed to survive. Nuclear blasts, reinforced fuselage, thermal shielding, EMPs, analog systems, Faraday cage-style protection, extended airborne ops, aerial refueling capability, days in the sky, total communications blackout, onboard satellite uplinks, VLF antennas that can talk to submerged nuclear subs. Inside, room for 112 people, the President, Joint Chiefs, key staff, enough computing power to coordinate a retaliatory strike, enough rations to stay airborne for a week if needed. It's not designed to win a war. It's designed to survive long enough to end one. And it's been sitting quietly in reserve for years, a relic, a just-in-case that everyone hoped would stay in the hangar forever, until recently. Because now, for reasons the Pentagon won't fully disclose, the Nightwatch is being prepped again. Maintenance schedules accelerated, flight crews reassigned, emergency protocols updated, which raises the obvious question, what changed? The quiet escalation. Let's connect some dots, because the doomsday plane doesn't get activated in a vacuum. It gets activated when the people with the classified briefings start seeing patterns the rest of us won't notice until it's too late. And lately, the patterns are loud. Exhibit A, nuclear posturing is back in style. Russia's been rattling its saber harder than it has since the 1980s. Putin's speeches reference tactical nukes like they're just another negotiating tool. In February 2023, Russia suspended its participation in New START, the last major nuclear arms treaty with the US. That's not symbolic, that's strategic. Meanwhile, the US quietly began modernizing its nuclear triad to the tune of $1.7 trillion over 30 years. New ICBMs, new submarines, new bombers. You don't spend that kind of money on weapons you never plan to think about using. Exhibit B. The return of escalation ladders. Remember that Cold War concept where every move has a counter-move, and both sides climb higher until someone blinks, or doesn't? Yeah, we're back on that ladder. Ukraine gets HIMARS. Russia threatens nukes. NATO expands. Russia moves tactical warheads to Belarus. The US sends cluster munitions. Russia pulls out of grain deals and naval treaties. Back and forth. Rung by rung. And every time someone climbs higher, the doomsday plane becomes a little less theoretical. Exhibit C, China's nuclear expansion. For decades, China kept a minimum deterrent nuclear arsenal, just enough to make invasion unthinkable, but not enough to win a nuclear war. That strategy, gone. Satellite images from 2021 revealed over 300 new ICBM silos under construction in remote Chinese deserts. The Pentagon now estimates China will have 1,500 warheads by 2035. That's not deterrence, that's preparation. And when you've got three nuclear superpowers eyeing each other across contested waters in the South China Sea, Taiwan Strait and Arctic Circle, the margin for miscalculation gets razor thin. Exhibit D. The stuff they're not telling us. You know what's interesting? The E4B activity isn't being announced. No press releases, no official statements, just quiet upticks in observable movement, tracked by open-source intelligence analysts, aviation geeks with flight trackers, and a few journalists nerdy enough to monitor military airspace. When the government wants you to know they're being tough, they hold press conferences. When they're genuinely preparing for worst-case scenarios, they do it quietly. Because the last thing you want is public panic over something that's still, hopefully, just contingency planning. But here's the thing about contingency planning. It only happens when the contingency is plausible. So what are the scenarios that would actually require the night watch? A few possibilities. Major escalation in Ukraine leading to tactical nuke use, Sino-American conflict over Taiwan, spiraling out of control North Korea, doing something catastrophically stupid, cyber attack or satellite strike that blinds early warning systems, accidental launch due to miscommunication. It's happened before. Look up Stanislav Petrov. Any of these could create a situation where the president needs to be airborne, untouchable, and able to command forces even if the ground-based command centers are obliterated. And if you think that sounds paranoid, remember, the plane exists because this has always been possible. It's just that for a while, it seemed unlikely. Not anymore. The logic of the unthinkable. Here's where it gets uncomfortable, because the existence of the doomsday plane forces you to accept a very specific kind of logic. A logic that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. It's called mutually assured destruction. MAD for short. And yes, the acronym is intentional. The idea is simple. If both sides have enough nukes to annihilate each other completely, then neither side will ever actually use them. Because launching means dying. Dying means losing. So nobody launches. Elegant, right? Terrifying but elegant. Except there's a flaw. MAD only works if both sides are rational. If both sides believe the other side is rational. If both sides have perfect information. If nobody misreads a radar blip. If no rogue commander goes off script. If no cyber attack convinces a defense system that missiles are already inbound. The system has almost failed before. 1983, Soviet early warning satellites detected 5 US ICBMs heading toward Moscow. Protocol said launch immediately. A lieutenant colonel named Stanislav Petrov decided the reading was wrong, against orders, against procedure, and did nothing. Turns out it was a satellite malfunction. Petrov saved the world by not following the rules. 1995, a Norwegian research rocket triggered Russian early warning systems. For 8 minutes, Boris Yeltsin had the nuclear briefcase open, ready to authorize a counterstrike. 8 minutes. They figured it out. Barely. So yeah, the system has cracks. And the E-4B exists because someone, somewhere, decided if the system fails, we still need to be able to respond. Not to win, to survive long enough to end it. That's the plane's entire purpose. It's the last ditch. Hail Mary. Civilization is collapsing, but we're still in the game insurance policy. The plane, we hope, never flies. So here's where we land. The E-4B Night Watch is ready. Fueled, crewed, and waiting in a hangar somewhere between Nebraska and Maryland. Engines humming on standby like a dragon that's been told to stay awake. And the question isn't really why it's being prepped. The question is, what do we do with that information? Because here's the thing. Most people will hear about the doomsday plane and do one of two things: panic or ignore it completely. Panic is useless. It doesn't change policy. It doesn't stop wars. It just turns you into someone refreshing nuclear threat trackers at 3 a.m. while your coffee gets cold. Ignoring it is worse, because ignoring existential risk doesn't make it go away. It just means you're not ready when it arrives. So what's the third option? Pay attention, stay informed, demand better. Because the people making decisions about nuclear posture, about escalation ladders, about when to scramble the night watch, they're not superheroes, they're not oracles. They're bureaucrats and generals and politicians operating under incomplete information, political pressure, and the same cognitive biases as everyone else. And historically, they've made mistakes. The Cuban Missile Crisis came within one vote of nuclear war. One Soviet submarine captain, Vasily Arkhipov, refused to authorize a nuclear torpedo launch when his fellow officers were ready to fire. One vote, one man. We've been lucky, absurdly lucky. But luck isn't a strategy, and the more we normalize the idea that nuclear war is just another scenario to plan for, the more we risk sleepwalking into a conflict nobody actually wanted. So here's the real question. If the doomsday plane takes off, if the president is airborne, if the command codes are active, if the world is 30 minutes from irradiation, what will have been worth it? What territorial dispute? What ideological rivalry? What wounded pride or strategic advantage could possibly justify turning the surface of the Earth into a graveyard? Because the plane can survive the blast. It can stay airborne. It can coordinate a response. But it can't bring back the cities, can't unfry the power grids, can't undo the fallout or resurrect the millions who didn't make it to a bunker in time. The doomsday plane is a miracle of engineering, a marvel of Cold War ingenuity, a symbol of resilience in the face of annihilation. But it's also a reminder that we've built systems capable of ending civilization, that we've come close before, that the gap between unlikely and impossible is thinner than we like to believe. And that the best-case scenario, always, is that the plane stays grounded. So which side would you choose? The side that keeps building bigger weapons and hoping deterrence holds forever? Or the side that says, maybe we should stop playing chess with thermonuclear warheads? Think about it. And if this video made you think, drop a like. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the more people paying attention, the harder it is for the people in charge to make catastrophic decisions in the shadows. The doomsday plane is ready. Let's make sure it never has to fly.